In this edition of Southern Newsweek, a Dunedin Muslim leader says they're not commemorating the anniversary of last year's March shootings. Kaimoana fans are in for a real treat as a seasonal delicacy becomes available. And a group of hand-reared penguins are released into the wild. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Melissa Barton. The Dunedin City Council has confirmed there will be no memorial service in Dunedin to commemorate last year's terror attack. In Christchurch, however, members of the Muslim community are unhappy about a planned memorial service, which will go ahead in spite of the community's wishes.
Many victims and families of victims of the gun attack that left 51 people dead and many more injured at the Al Noor and Linwood mosques are unhappy with plans for an anniversary commemoration in Christchurch for March the 15th.
They were not consulted with. They were just informed that it's actually happening. But if you talk to the victims and the families of the victims, most of them, they will tell you they don't want it.
Otago Muslim Association President Muhammad Rizwan says in Islamic culture, marking anniversaries is not typically done.
As the commemoration or anniversary, no, we have not planned anything, because part of that is because what has happened is something, because the commemoration anniversary is remembering what has happened, right? But we remember every day what has happened, and we pray for those who have lost their lives every day. We do not need a fixed day to actually remember them, like a commemoration anniversary day.
He says the Dunedin City Council made a point of asking the local Muslim community if an anniversary service would be appropriate.
They consulted with us if we want something of that sort, so we just gave them our opinion that no, we are not interested. But if you want to do something, then we're happy to just participate and say a few words or whatever you want.
After getting feedback, the Dunedin City Council has decided against holding a commemorative event. But Rizwan says if others want to remember the events of a year ago, they are welcome to do so.
If any other organisation are doing it, which I'm not aware of at the moment, but if they are, then people can do whatever they want actually, But Otago Muslim Association will not be doing anything.
The Christchurch Memorial Service is set to be held in North Hagley Park on the afternoon of Sunday the 15th of March. In Dunedin, the South Today.
The Bluff Oyster harvesting and eating season has begun. One Dunedin cafe thinks it's got the jump on the competition after the owner made a couple of trips to Bluff.
Shucking brilliant. Dunedin's best cafe is ready for the start of the Bluff Oyster season, especially as owner Jessica Marks chose to collect the cafe's supply straight from the source.
Yes, we went down yesterday afternoon. The first harvesting was this morning. They went out about midnight last night. So luckily we could get them today and bring them back before lunch for service about 12:30, 1 o'clock today.
She brought 50 dozen of the sought-after shellfish back to the cafe. Marks says there's typically a bit of a feeding frenzy of customer demand as her fourth Bluff Oyster season at Best Cafe begins.
This is our busiest time of the year. March is, most definitely our busiest month, and April is following soon after.
She says they've got a good relationship with the oyster supplier, and while it's early days, she believes this season's oysters are of a very high standard.
I'd like to think that they're getting a bit bigger each year, but a few comments from the customers were saying that they tasted beautiful, very fresh of course, and fingers crossed.
Marks took over in 2017 as owner-operator of the cafe, which her great-grandfather Patrick Collins had established in 1932. Barnes Wild Bluff Oysters manager Graham Wright says the weather at the start of the season on Sunday was better than the corresponding time of the previous year. Marks agrees the weather does affect supply.
It's all weather dependent, totally. So it all comes down to whether or not we can get the oysters in. It's always disappointing when we can't. And obviously, the demand outstrips the supply. So if we have a good week, the weather's been great, we can sell a lot of oysters, definitely.
Bluff oysters are typically served au natural on a half shell or battered and fried. Marks says locals like them fried, while tourists seem to prefer the southern delicacy in its naked glory. In Dunedin, the South Today.
The release of 25 critically endangered yellow-eyed penguin chicks this week marked a special occasion for penguin rescue. The organisation has cared for 2 penguin colonies at Moiraki, where 38 nests have produced 49 living chicks.
25 yellow-eyed chicks were big enough and old enough to be released this week.
So today is a big day for Penguin Rescue because we are releasing the bulk of our chicks that we saved this year.
Penguin Rescue Manager Rosalie Goldworthy says the hand-raised chicks were moved into a pen on the foreshore with the doors open. She's proud of the organisation's achievements this season.
We have managed to save 48 of our chicks from 38 nests, so our fledgling ratio is about 1.3, which is an excellent result, and we're really proud of ourselves because it's been hard, but it's been worth it.
Goldsworthy says the chicks were fed once a day for a week in the pen and are now free to go or stay if that was their preference.
So this is called a soft release. They don't have to go. I'm not letting them out on the beach and kicking them out. I'm saying if you want to go, you can. So it's really exciting and we're really proud of the results of our work.
They were milling about and free to come and go as they pleased, some being braver than others. Goldworthy says they picked up the chicks near the end of last year after a predator had attacked young penguins in the area.
We didn't know at the time it was ferret, but we found out it was ferret. And since then we've trapped 15 ferrets. Now we don't know if any of them it was in fact the one that predated the chicks, but we do know that it wasn't a safe environment here with the outbreak of predators, so we brought the chicks in.
They took 49 into care and says sadly one died of a bacterial infection, but says they're proud of the teamwork and that they saved 48 out of 49 yellow-eyed penguins. There are 155 nests across New Zealand this season, down from 226 last year. In Moiraki, the South Today.
Radio New Zealand's plans to essentially shut down classical music station Concert FM has met with protests online and around the country. The broadcaster has partially backed down, but a group of highly vocal protesters say Concert FM isn't out of the woods yet.
Making their voices heard. This group of classical music and opera fans met in the Octagon about 4 this afternoon to let people know their beloved Concert FM is still under threat.
We've had no assurances from the RNZ board that they'll back down on anything actually, apart from giving us the FM frequency. So as far as we know, and the decision is theirs because any logistical decisions are up to the board and not up to the government.
Radio New Zealand announced a proposal to axe Concert FM in favour of a youth station on the FM band, leaving a solely automated broadcast on the AM frequency. Internationally renowned opera singer Annalise is one of those leading the charge and says Concert isn't out of the woods.
What we hope is to send a message to the RNZ board that there are thousands and thousands of people who care very deeply about this station.
Protesters say they'll keep making their voices heard until any proposal to change Concert is completely off the page. Today's loud protest in Dunedin followed a massive gathering in Wellington at Parliament. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Still to come on this edition of Southern News Week. A 21st birthday is soured for a South Otago resident as she faces deportation. And education has come a long way, with some Dunedin girls being taught sword fighting and unarmed combat for stage and screen. So see you after the break. Welcome back. Guests got a taste of what it's like to be hearing impaired when they attended a silent breakfast in Dunedin. The event was hosted by Hearing Support Otago and aimed to alert people to the risks of hearing loss, especially young people who use headphones.
Earmuffs can give a taste of what it's like to be hearing impaired. Hearing Support Otago hosted an event this week to highlight what it was like for those in the hearing impaired community.
When Catherine was talking, I couldn't even tell. I thought she was saying apple every time. So it's definitely missing out on a whole lot, and when I couldn't see the words, I was missing out on even more. So I think I'd definitely struggle with a normal conversation.
I've suddenly found myself having to lip read and I didn't realise that I could do it. I think subconsciously we do a bit of lip reading anyway, and the older you get, the more of it you have to do, because you tend to lose the top end of your hearing quite quickly.
Hearing Support Otago President Owen Gray says almost 1 million New Zealanders live with some form of hearing loss. She found the early years of her hearing impairment a struggle and encourages people to get help sooner rather than later.
Most of us, when we're diagnosed with a bad hearing problem, it takes us 7 to 12 years to actually act on it. And I want to encourage people to do that sooner, because the sooner we do it, the better the outcome.
The organisation worries that loud music through headphones is damaging the hearing of some young people well before the natural hearing loss kicks in. Gray says anyone who's concerned they might be undergoing hearing loss can come in for a free test.
People can come to Hearing Support Otago and have a basic hearing test, and that will give us whether it is normal for their age or it is down a little bit, and then they may need to be referred to an audiologist.
Former sound engineer and Dunedin City Councillor Lee Vandervis says it's important for people to use hearing protection in loud environments.
My message to everybody now is do not use a skill saw without ear protection first. Do not go to rock concerts and sit up the front without having something in your ears. Earplugs is a good idea. And if you don't remember to bring earplugs, there's always a bit of toilet paper or something that you can stuff in your ears, and do that if you find yourself in an unexpectedly loud situation, because 20, 30, 40 years later, you will pay a terrible price for neglecting the real sensitivity that you've got right in here.
People wishing to book a free appointment with a hearing therapist can do so online or by calling 0800 008 011. In Dunedin, the South Today.
High school education has come a long way from reading, writing and arithmetic. These days pupils at Otago Girls High School are learning a skill which harks back to medieval days.
At the moment, you can actually learn a good deal about medieval sword fighting at Otago Girls High School. Being able to wield a sword proficiently and undertake other choreographed forms of unarmed combat could mean positive job prospects for drama pupils at the school.
It is very important that when they are planning to become full-time performers or actors, we teach them as much as possible when it comes to body motion dynamics. So when we are training for fight direction,
Imperial School of Swordsmanship founder Jeezy Segal is training Otago Girls pupils in a performance combat arts workshop. The program began last week, and Segal plans to offer more sessions in the first term.
we are training and talent developing them as actor combatants, which means they can safely execute some of the stunts during a production, be it for stage, be it for camera, or for virtual productions like game motion capture and so forth.
About 12 pupils are taking part in the sword fighting lessons. The Year 12 and 13 pupils are learning skills which may be incorporated in Shakespearean scenes later in the year.
Students are buzzing to get out there on the main strip and put up a show. Hopefully on my watch nobody's got hurt till date, and I hope it won't be starting today, so touch wood.
Drama teacher Lauren Mackay says learning combat-related performance skills has already proved popular with her pupils. Year 12 drama pupil Sophia Neblock is delighted to be taking part in the workshops, including wielding heavy practice swords.
Yeah, I find it really interesting actually, particularly because when I'm out of high school I'm wanting to get into acting and directing and photography, so I find this all really valuable.
Segal has a background in martial arts and works in the film industry as a second unit or fight scenes director. He says adding these skills to an actor's toolbox makes them more versatile across stage and screen. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A pair of flyboarders stole the show at Sunday's annual River Carnival and Boat Show at Kaiapoi. Bo and Gemma Weston of Queenstown have been performing stunts across the world at flyboard shows as well as for feature films.
Flyboarder Bo Weston and his sister Gemma put on an acrobatic show at the Kaiapoi River Carnival and Boat Show on Sunday. The performance included seeing Gemma, who was the world's flyboarding champion in 2015, high-fiving spectators on the bridge.
There was a lot of crowd interaction. I couldn't get everyone, couldn't high-five everyone, had to watch where the ski was going, but...
Gemma's brother Bo says their flyboards get their propulsion from the unmanned jet ski nearby, with each of them having a remote-controlled throttle.
We use the power from the jet ski to propel us up into the air, and we've got little wireless remotes so we can control the throttle ourselves.
Having a strong background in doing stunts for cinema, both of them are now in demand to help out in overseas film productions.
Most of the time you won't really recognise us because we'll either be doubling people or we'll be a lot of background stunts. So we'll be filling in the background or we'll be behind the scenes making sure everything's safe. Bo, he does a lot of rigging as well, so he helps people fly through the air, or for explosions, that sort of stunt.
Other events on the day included a display by champion jet boater Simon Gibbons, as well as demonstration races by the Cure Boating Club of Kaiapoi, which is one of New Zealand's oldest rowing clubs, and even tiny radio-controlled model boats being taken out for a spin. And Gemma gives the thumbs up to the suggestion flyboarding become part of the aquatic park being proposed for Kaiapoi.
I reckon most places should take up flyboarding. It's a pretty awesome sport, and everyone that tries it, they love it.
In Kaiapoi, the South Today.
A Balclutha migrant marked her 21st birthday yesterday, but there were few smiles to be seen. Instead, she and her family spent the day coming to terms with an Immigration New Zealand decision, which will enact her deportation in August.
We're almost broke, financially broke. We have to pay the lawyer $16,000, and you just give your all, and you hope for the best. And it's heartbreaking because as a parent, you do everything for your children.
Despite trying everything, a Filipino family living in Balclutha have been told their 21-year-old daughter Maya Matubis faces deportation in August. Arriving in New Zealand in 2016, the family eventually chose Balclutha as an affordable place to buy a home. Both parents now work at the corrections facility in nearby Milton, and their daughter has been offered a university scholarship. But the dreams of her staying in New Zealand are now over.
I didn't have the right visa, and they kept calling me as well, not just Auckland University, Massey and Otago. They're when are you going to sign up for your classes? You missed orientation, etc., etc. And I was worried that I would miss my slot because I didn't know what to tell any of them, and I was just, and at the time I applied for media because I wanted to be a journalist, and it's just frustrating because I just really wanted to go to school.
Maya had a liver transplant when she was 1 year old and relies on immunosuppressant medication and doctors' checkups costing about $3,000 a year. Her family have paid for this since her arrival in 2016 and they've offered to continue to pay, but Immigration New Zealand says Maya does not meet necessary health requirements. The family says they were told by immigration they should expect to have to leave their daughter behind.
And as a family, it's normal for immigrants to leave their family behind.
Yeah, they also mentioned that there's no special circumstances in that because that is actually the life of a migrant. So
it's normal.
So I don't know. I
rebuke that.
It's okay.
Clutha Mayor Brian Cadogan says the decision is callous and punitive, and that Clutha is desperately short of people to fill a glut of jobs. Our local economy and the nation's economy need people like Maya.
She wants to work, she has a dream, she wants to have purpose. And it's frustrating because you know, as a parent, you know the potential of your child, but you can't do anything about it.
Immigration New Zealand were unable to respond for comment. In Balclutha, the South Today.
After the break on this edition of Southern News Week, about 200 Dunedin schoolgirls took the opportunity to have a go at a variety of sports, and Dunedin hosts the World Kneeboarding Champs, bringing competitors from across the globe. So see you after the break. Welcome back. About 200 Year 5 and 6 girls from across Greater Dunedin converged on North Dunedin sports fields for a Have a Go Day across 4 sporting disciplines. The youngsters were encouraged by representatives in each code, with those trying hockey being guided by a gold medal winning athlete.
Commonwealth gold medal winning women's black sticks player Maddie Dorr is among those offering advice at a multi-sports Have a Go Day.
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool. I love coaching and I love giving back to my sport. I think I had a lot of influential people when I was this age, and this was the age that I started. So it's pretty cool to be able to be one of those people and give back to the community in that way.
Dorr represented New Zealand at the 2018 Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast and says some of the youngsters showed natural ability during some of the drills on the Macmillan turf. Representatives from Football South, Otago Cricket, Tennis Otago and Otago Hockey have been working together behind the scenes for many months, putting this event together.
I guess it's been around about 6 months in the making. Probably the hardest part is trying to find a day in the school year where we can get a whole lot of schools together. It's not competing with too many things. And obviously the weather, you can't control that. All of the sport we've got on today is outdoors. So that's been pretty cool to get such a good day today.
Otago Cricket says the organisations worked together, providing tasters for girls to try a host of sports. Otago Cricket Development Officer Jess Davidson says days like this encourage girls out of the shadows and into the limelight in their chosen sporting arena.
With female cricket, the ways to go, there's females playing now 12 months of the year, so it's actually becoming a full-time career, and we're so lucky in Otago we've got the likes of Susie Bates, Katie Martin, and now it's their full-time job, which is great for the females to see that actually if you want to play cricket you can make it into your career.
The midweek event was well supported by a host of Dunedin schools from McAndrew Bay to Rudolph Steiner, Columba College and more. Of the 4 sports on offer, women's hockey is arguably the least funded. Otago hockey coach Tori Doherty says days like this can be available to all comers.
So if you or your child just wants to have a go, just come down or contact Otago Hockey and they'll help you get in there.
Jess Davidson says it's great to see about 200 girls having a great day sampling sports after so many months of planning. In Dunedin, the South Today.
The world's best kneeboarders are hitting the waves at Dunedin St Clair Beach this week. Competitors from across the globe are set to ride the surf as they compete in the World Kneeboarding Championships.
Kneeboarders from across the globe have converged on Dunedin this week to compete in the annual World Kneeboarding Championships being held at St Clair Beach.
We have 80 participants in the event and 60 from overseas, predominantly from South Africa, Australia and the US, but also from Portugal, Tahiti and Puerto Rico. So quite a mix of surfers that are really enjoying Dunedin.
Kneeboarding is just one of 3 wave riding codes, the other 2 being surfing and bodyboarding. Contest director Ben Kennings says the sport requires riders to apply core strength and use their upper body a lot more than in conventional surfing.
Kneeboarding is surfing, but obviously they stand on their knees or they kneel down, whereas a surfer that stands on their feet, obviously a little bit different. Some of the turns are different, but the criteria is still the same, so it's just about really going up and doing really big turns and making the most of the waves and finding the best waves as well. So it's important to sort of stand out from the crowd for the judges to get the good scores.
The week-long event started with an official opening featuring bagpipes and kapahaka before the participants committed themselves to a week filled with kneeboarding in the Dunedin surf.
So we had the opening ceremony, which was on Saturday, and then yesterday was the official start of the competition, and so we've got 6 full days.
The championships are set to run until Saturday. In Dunedin, the South Today.
And that wraps up this edition of Southern News Week. For the latest news from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Have a great night. Ka kite anō.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.